What's up? I'm Melody Chronicles, and let's go. In the labyrinthine streets of Atlanta, under the cascade of shimmering neon and the soft hum of midnight traffic, there existed a soul defined by rhythm and poetry, a soul known to the world as Playboi Carti. Beneath the glittering veneer of fame and the pulsating beats that defined his career lay a heart besieged by longing, a yearning for a love that transcended the superficial glitz of celebrity. For Carti, music was not merely a career, it was an existential language, a symphony that articulated every heartbeat and every fleeting emotion in a world that often misunderstood him. Born into a modest neighborhood where challenges met the vibrancy of hope, Carti's earliest memories were painted in the rich hues of struggle and possibility. Even as a child, he found solace in the static of a battered radio, the crackling sounds sparking dreams of stages and stadiums far beyond his humble beginnings. The streets, with their blend of raw energy and quiet desperation, became a living classroom where every whispered lyric and clattering beat revealed the secret rhythms of life. These formative years instilled in him a profound belief that every note held the power to transform pain into beauty. As adolescence unfolded, music became his sanctuary, a realm where the mundane world dissolved into endless beats and boundless creativity. In stolen moments between school and the gritty pulse of urban life, Carti would scribble verses on scrap paper, each line an intimate confession of hope, heartache, and the longing for connection. His early compositions were raw and unrefined, yet imbued with a sincerity that resonated with anyone who had ever dared to dream beyond the confines of their reality. Music was his first love, his truest companion, whispering promises of redemption and escape from a life that often seemed too harsh to bear. With the ascent to stardom, the delicate balance between artistry and isolation began to tilt. Under the glare of relentless stage lights and amid the constant flash of paparazzi cameras, Carti's public persona soared, yet behind closed doors, a quieter battle raged. In the expansive solitude of his penthouse, where the sprawling metropolis glowed like a constellation of lost dreams, he would find himself lost in introspection. The city's restless pulse mirrored the inner turmoil of a man caught between two worlds, the euphoric highs of creative triumph and the crushing weight of loneliness. In these moments, memories of simpler times emerged, fleeting encounters, secret smiles, and the soft, earnest laughter of those rare souls who had once dared to glimpse beyond the myth. One memory, particularly luminous, was of Sierra, a gentle spirit whose eyes carried the quiet mystery of dusk and whose laughter resonated like the tender strumming of a guitar. Their paths had crossed in a fleeting collision of fate, sparking an ephemeral romance that burned with the intensity of 1,000 unsaid words. For a brief, shining moment, their souls danced in perfect harmony, a symphony of passion and vulnerability that promised more than the transient glow of stage lights. Yet the irresistible call of his craft soon reclaimed him, leaving behind only the bittersweet echo of what might have been. Every new track that emerged from his studio was a coded diary entry, a silent plea woven into complex layers of bass and melody. His lyrics, at times cryptic and always emotionally charged, became a medium through which he searched for meaning in the cacophony of his public life. The recording studio, with its dim lighting and ceaseless hum of machinery, was both his sanctuary and his prison. Here, Carti wrestled with the duality of his existence, the exhilaration of creative brilliance juxtaposed against the isolation of a heart too guarded to fully embrace love. The pressures of life in the spotlight further deepened his inner conflict. The world's adoration, measured in social media likes and fleeting paparazzi snapshots, often felt hollow, an illusion that masked the genuine human connection he craved. Despite millions chanting his name at sold-out concerts, Carti could not shake the feeling that the essence of love was slipping through his fingers, obscured by the relentless glare of fame. In search of respite, he often retreated to a small, unassuming park on the outskirts of the city. Amid rustling leaves and the gentle murmur of a nearby stream, he found a momentary reprieve, a space where the clamor of celebrity gave way to the quiet, honest whispers of nature. In the silent hours of dawn, before the city awoke to the rhythms of a new day, Carti retreated to his modest recording corner, a space cluttered with vintage synthesizers, handwritten notes, and memories of a time when life was unburdened by the weight of expectation. It was here that he allowed himself the rare luxury of vulnerability, unguarded and unfiltered. He would gaze at old photographs, remnants of a past filled with laughter, shared secrets, and moments of pure, unadulterated joy. Each image evoked bittersweet nostalgia, a reminder of love that once felt real and intimate. His mind wandered back to late nights spent under the vast expanse of starlit skies, where promises were made in whispers and dreams intertwined with the soft strains of an acoustic melody. In those precious instants, time seemed to hold its breath, and every second pulsed with the hope of a future where love and art could coexist in perfect harmony. As the night deepened and the city's pulse slowed to a gentle rhythm, Carti found himself standing at a crossroads. The relentless pursuit of musical perfection had come at a steep personal cost, and he began to wonder if the brilliance of his art was also the source of his isolation. With the skyline stretching out before him, a mosaic of glittering dreams and silent sorrows, he resolved to embark on a journey of self-discovery. It was a quest to reconcile the dual forces within him, the creative genius whose every beat stirred the soul of a generation, and the vulnerable heart longing for a love that was as authentic as the music he created. In that quiet, introspective moment, amid the distant hum of a waking city, Carti vowed that his next verse would not only celebrate the power of rhythm but also honor the fragile, beautiful pursuit of true love. The night had grown weary, and yet, Playboi Carti remained wide awake, standing in his studio surrounded by the echoes of unfinished melodies. The glow of a dimly lit lava lamp cast fluid, shifting patterns across the walls, mirroring the thoughts tumbling through his mind. Music had always been his solace, his truest form of expression. But in the quiet hours between the beats, a question lingered: was there a love that could understand the rhythm of his world, the pulse of his existence? His phone buzzed, another late-night message, another invitation to a party, another fleeting distraction. He glanced at the screen but felt no urgency to respond. The same cycle had played out for years, women who adored the stage presence but never stayed long enough to learn the man behind it. They loved the idea of Playboi Carti, the icon, the enigma. But Jordan, the boy from Riverdale who once wrote verses in the margins of his schoolbooks, remained unseen. And then there was Amira. She wasn't like the others. She never fawned over his fame, never chased him for clout or a feature on a song. They had met at an underground art gallery in LA, where she stood quietly admiring a Basquiat painting, oblivious to the murmurs that followed him as he walked in. Carti had expected the usual reaction: wide eyes, a quick selfie request, maybe even a casual flirtation. But Amira barely acknowledged him. "What do you think?" she had asked, nodding towards the painting. He was caught off guard. "It's chaotic," he admitted, tilting his head. "But it's real. Feels like the inside of my head sometimes." She had smiled, a knowing smile that made his pulse stutter. "Then you must have a beautiful mind." That was the beginning. In the weeks that followed, he found himself drawn to her in a way that was different, deeper. They talked about everything: art, love, the pressures of existing in a world that always demanded more. Amira had her own struggles. She was a writer, a poet, someone who understood that true creation often came from the most painful places. "You live in your music," she once told him as they lay on the hood of his car, staring up at the city skyline. "But do you ever let anyone else live in it with you?" The question had haunted him. For the first time in a long time, Carti let someone in. He played her unreleased tracks, let her hear the raw versions before the autotune, before the layers of production turned them into the glossy anthems the world consumed. And she listened, not as a fan, not as an industry insider, but as someone who truly saw him. But love, even when it feels real, is rarely simple. As their connection deepened, so did the demands of his career. His phone never stopped ringing, his manager calling about last-minute studio sessions, producers sending beats at 3 a.m., festival organizers booking him for shows halfway across the world. Every moment with Amira felt stolen, borrowed from a life that had little room for quiet intimacy. She never complained. She understood that music was his first love. But Carti could see the sadness in her eyes when another late-night recording session took him away, when he missed another date, Another promise unfulfilled. One night, after an exhausting stretch of tour dates, he found himself back in his penthouse, the city lights blinking against the glass. Amira was there, sitting on his couch, reading one of her poetry books. He sat beside her, resting his head on her shoulder, exhaling a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "I miss you," he murmured. She placed a hand on his. "I know." A heavy silence followed. He wanted to say more, to tell her that she meant something real in a life that often felt like an illusion. But words failed him. He only knew how to speak through music. That night, he wrote a song for her. A melody that carried the weight of every unspoken emotion, a rhythm that pulsed with the urgency of love teetering on the edge of loss. He poured himself into the track, hoping, praying, that she would hear what he couldn't say. When he finally played it for her, Amira listened in silence. When the final note faded, she turned to him with glassy eyes. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "But I need more than a song." Carti felt his heart sink. "I don't know how," he admitted. "I don't know how to love and do this at the same time." She reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "Then maybe you need to figure that out." And just like that, she was gone. For days, weeks, Carti drowned himself in music, trying to silence the ache. He played the song over and over, dissecting every lyric, every beat, as if the answer to keeping her was hidden somewhere between the notes. But the truth was simple: love required presence, and he had given her everything except that. Months passed, and the world moved on. New albums dropped. New faces entered his life, but none stayed long enough to leave a mark. He told himself he was fine. He was Playboi Carti, after all, the enigmatic rock star, the music genius. But when the lights dimmed, when the crowds faded, he still saw her, Amira, standing in that gallery, looking at Basquiat with eyes full of understanding. One night, he found himself back at that same gallery, staring at the same painting. And for the first time, he realized, love was like music. It wasn't about control, about perfect timing. It was about surrender. About allowing someone to step inside the rhythm of your world and letting them dance alongside you. He pulled out his phone and typed a message. "I get it now. I'm ready to learn." He hesitated, then hit send. As he waited for a reply, he exhaled, the city's pulse syncing with his own. Maybe love, like music, wasn't something you found. Maybe it was something you created, together.